With the UK elections just around the corner, we're seeing a huge amount of interest from UK buyers at the moment. Hello and welcome back to another episode of What's the Deal? My name is Jack from Edwards & Towers, and today I'm going to discuss the importance of what to look out for when buying a property here in the UAE if you're based in the United Kingdom. Dubai over the years has become renowned for its smart city and technology approach to transferring property ownership in the most seamless manner in the world. Here at Edwards & Towers, we have been working in the Dubai property market for over 20 years. We're actually celebrating our 20th year this year in 2024, and we are one of the only RICS accredited companies based in Dubai. We were selling off-plan properties on Palm Jumeirah back in 2003 and 2004. Many of the most famous celebrities and footballers have purchased through Edwards & Towers in the past, and we are extending our experience and our network to educate our investors and buyers, particularly those looking from the UK at the moment. So, what do you need to look out for as a British buyer when purchasing a property here in the UAE? Well, firstly, you've got to understand the process here is somewhat different to the United Kingdom. I represent investors who are looking at buying in the UK and obviously people overseas looking at buying here in the UAE. So I have a pretty good experience on both sides of the coin, if you like. In the UK, the typical procedure is when you are purchasing a property, you do lots and lots of research in the area that you want to purchase or invest. You look at schools, you look at transport links, particularly in London. The proximity to a transport link in London is very much the main key driving factor for investors. It means that it makes the tenants or opens up the tenants pool and makes the property more desirable to those wishing to rent out your property as an investor. The most important aspects for property investment, if you're looking over here in the UAE or in the UK, is the proximity to transport links. So in the UAE, there are obviously some pretty bold plans over the next 10 years to improve the transport system, linking up a lot of the back communities, which is only accessible by car at the moment, car or taxi. The metro line is going into those communities. You can relate to that if you are in London, for example, where you will only purchase an investment property or a home if it's close to some important transport links. Not only that, but you look at the schools in the area to appeal to not only yourself as a family living there, but also tenants in the future. If they're renting your property, they want to obviously be closest to the schools. Work and the commute for me at the moment, living in Dubai Hills, my office is on Palm Jumeirah. It takes me around 20 minutes in the morning to get into work, and it takes me around 45 minutes to get home. That is a travel time, a distance of around 8 kilometers. So it's not far, but the traffic is horrendous. The transport links and improvement plans outlined in the Dubai 2030 and 2040 plan is going to extend the metro line out to those areas of Dubai which are currently only accessible via car. One of the main factors or differences between the UAE and the UK when you're purchasing a property, once you've isolated the community that you want to live in and you've shortlisted some options, in the United Kingdom, you will then instruct a solicitor once you have an offer accepted on the property. That solicitor will then represent you against the seller's or the vendor's solicitor in order for you then to move forward and exchange contracts. Here in Dubai, most of it is done by your real estate agent. Therefore, it is really important for you to select which real estate agent you believe can get the transaction done and represent you the best throughout the whole process. With such an extensive amount of knowledge in the Dubai market over the last 20 years for the company and nearly a decade of knowledge and experience for myself personally, we help investors who are based overseas transfer on properties when they are actually remote. So this can be done by instructing a power of attorney to help represent you here in the UAE to help with any signatures that are required for the completion or the transfer of the property. Sending money internationally, we can also assist with. So if you do need to present a manager's check here in the UAE, which is quite a common practice, we can help facilitate that with the best exchange rates with some of the foreign exchange company houses that we use and trust, which we have done over many, many years. So if you're looking at buying a property here in the UAE and you're based in the UK, the main differences are that we do not use solicitors here in the UAE. You need to lean heavily on your real estate agent and for them to be fully transparent with the process. We negotiate you the best price. Once that price is then agreed, we then work with the Dubai Land Department through our contract system, which is all done by us, to then transfer on the property within a certain time period. Typically, if you're buying with a mortgage, it can be 60 days to transfer the ownership of the property. If it's a cash purchase, it can be as quick as 1 week. The only limitations when you purchase a property here, so let's say, for example, you find a perfect property today, you make an offer which is accepted today. Once we then go for contracts, we then create a Form A, which is the contract between ourselves and the seller, a Form B, which is a contract between ourselves and the buyer, so you in this circumstance. And then once the offer is accepted, we then create what is called a Form F. That contract then is between the seller and the buyer, and whatever terms and conditions are agreed in the deal are stipulated on that Form F. You will need a good real estate agent to represent you at this stage. Once that is complete and the Form F is signed, depending if it's cash or mortgage, we always need to go and then obtain what is called a non-objection certificate from the developer. That is typically known as an NOC when you're based here in the UAE. That is a letter from the developer to say that they are happy for this transfer to take place, and any outstanding payments in terms of service charges, or if the property is still has some finance obligations left on it, if it's an off-plan resale where the property was originally purchased on a payment plan, all of those payments need to be addressed or paid prior to the transfer. But don't worry, that is all taken care of by your trusted real estate agent. Once the transfer date is approaching, we then prepare all of the documentation for you, and we just meet at one of the Dubai Land Department trustee offices to make the transfer happen. This typically takes around an hour in the office, can be as quickly as 30 minutes. There are some fees that are paid on the day, some admin charges, which amount to no more than really 6,000 dirhams or £1,200. So I've sold a property in Birmingham previously where the exchange of contracts took 7 months. Here in the UAE, the longest duration of time that it takes is, if you're an overseas buyer and you want to do this remotely, is 2 months, 60 days. That is the longest time. So they are worlds apart in terms of the procedures from the UK and the UAE. And what I think is so brilliant about Dubai is it's the ability to move and be flexible with these changes, mostly utilizing technology to their advantage. In the UK, we're very much protected by laws and solicitors, and that gives you a safety blanket as a buyer in the UK. But as a seller in the UK, you kind of got the worst end of the stick there. If a buyer takes their time to exchange a contract in the UK, there is no penalty if they pull out of that deal. And it could be 2, 3, even 6 months' time where the seller has agreed on a price, and for the contract to fall down and be cancelled at the last minute is extremely frustrating, because you have simply lost that time when you want to sell. Now, in the UK, if you're a seller and that happens to you, you could be, or probably are, looking at where you're going to move to next. So we call that obviously a chain. If there is a chain and for whatever reason the buyer in the UK, the contract falls down and you are looking at then purchasing property after that, and there's no penalty in place, it's extremely frustrating. In Dubai, however, to ensure that both parties are protected, what we do here is that we honour both parties by providing a 10% deposit check. So let's say that you agree a sale on a 5 million dirham villa here in Dubai. The buyer needs to put down a 500,000 dirham deposit check, and the seller needs to put down a 500,000 dirham deposit check. So 10% of the property value is the norm. If for whatever reason that contract is not honoured or the transfer date is missed from externalities that are within their control, then the penalty payment is 10% of that property value. It's quite a good way of making sure that both parties are fully engaged and fully committed into the contract and are both extremely motivated to get the transfer done. That's one of the main considerations here in the UAE, is that we don't mess around with contracts. Everything is done for you from your real estate broker, but it's entirely up to you of who to choose and who you trust to make sure that your best interests are kept in mind and that they are capable enough to make sure that the transfer happens in the smoothest possible way. With the UK elections just around the corner, we're seeing a huge amount of interest from UK buyers at the moment. The Labour Party at the moment in the United Kingdom is very much the favourite to win the election, which is going to be next week. People are saying that it might be a coalition government, but ultimately, what does that mean for you as a property investor in the UK? Well, landlords in the UK are getting a little bit sick and tired of the regulations and laws that are coming into play there in the market, and people are now looking to diversify their portfolios. Dubai is obviously a fantastic location that we've seen over the last 2 or 3 years, more and more British buyers moving actually their families over to Dubai. After COVID, they'd realised that they can work remotely. This has seen a huge surge in British buyers in this market, and what's a common theme for many is that they want to buy off-plan investments or homes which have large gardens. Large gardens here in the UAE, typically, from many other cultures, is a bit of a burden. The cost involved in upkeep for that garden space is quite expensive. However, we are used to having large outdoor space in the UK. Some of the key expat communities which I would recommend for UK buyers moving over here, relocating, offer those large outdoor spaces and have more amenities on their doorstep. We have an office in Jumeirah Golf Estates, which is very famous for having a huge expat community there, with a golf course in the heart of the community, clubhouse, gym, and a lot of the residents find it a very cool feature being able to drive their golf buggy around the community rather than their cars. If you are looking for an expat community with a big British expat community, Jumeirah Golf Estates offers that. It has large garden spaces, villas with private swimming pools. The prices there, depending on the property, really do vary from around 7 million dirhams, so 1.5 million pounds, going right up to around 10 million pounds for a large villa situated on the golf course. One of the off-plan communities which has just launched that offers large garden spaces is the Acres by Morass. Morass are typically renowned for their high quality, their delivery on time, and the community offering that they have envisaged for the Acres really is appealing to British buyers. Many British buyers have already purchased in the Acres because of the large plots that the villas are situated on. Many of the developments here in the UAE don't have large gardens. In fact, some of the gardens are actually smaller than the living rooms in some of these townhouses and villas. To help you decide which community would be best for your circumstances, you could always reach out to somebody at Edwards & Towers. We have over 2,000 properties currently on our books available, and we can help guide you properly into the right location and community which you are looking for. When you're buying an off-plan property in the UAE, the developer agreement or the sales purchase agreement is your legal contract. You do not have solicitors here to help represent you when you're buying off-plan property like you do in the United Kingdom. You are very much at the mercy of the terms and conditions on that sales purchase agreement, and this is where I would strongly advise that you work with a real estate agent closely to ensure that everything is clear prior to signing that contract. We have had in the past here in Dubai a lot of developers that have sold properties from a brochure, and when the property is handed over, it has not met the expectations whatsoever for the quality and the delivery of what that person thought that they were buying. DMAC typically in the past have been the developer where their reputation has suffered because of this. DMAC have a tower in London, which is called 9 Elms, and the main focus for DMAC at the moment is to go after these international investors because their reputation has been tarnished so much here in the UAE or the local market. My job for many of my buyers in my network is to make sure that the terms and conditions are favorable towards the buyer, because when or if that property doesn't meet your expectations on handover, you will then need to come to your real estate agent for advice. You need to trust the developer that you're going into business with. That sales purchase agreement does stand up in court, and whatever you sign, you are very much at the mercy of. I've seen it in the past where people have tried to take on the developer from what was delivered to what was in the contract or what they purchased, and it didn't go in their favor. So you need to be extremely careful. Many real estate agents here in the UAE only have their own best interests in mind when selling property. That is the amount of commission they're going to be paid when they sell a property to you. What you need is a trustworthy and transparent real estate agent and agency to help represent you here in the market. Remember, in the UAE, your real estate agent and the Dubai Land Department are the only parties involved in a transaction, unless you're buying off-plan. It is then the real estate agent and the developer. They are the only parties that are involved in the deal. You therefore need to be extremely careful and to lean on your real estate broker for them to steer you into the right communities, the right price, and to make you aware of all of the terms and conditions in that sales purchase agreement. So if for whatever reason, when you get the key to that off-plan property, if it's delayed or if it isn't quite what you anticipated when you've purchased from looking at that brochure, it's the real estate agent that should have made you aware of everything prior to you going into that agreement. If you are based in the United Kingdom at the moment and you are looking at investing in the Dubai property market, I would urge you to get in touch with us at Edwards & Towers. We have over 20 years experience in the market with 3 offices here in Dubai, 1 in Jumeirah Golf Estates, 1 in Dubai Marina, and 1 on Palm Jumeirah. We will help guide you throughout the entire process, whether it's looking for a new home for you and your family, or if it's an off-plan investment, we will help guide you and steer you into the correct developments and make sure that you're fully aware of all of your contractual obligations prior to entering into any agreement. Again, my name is Jack. Thank you again for watching another episode of What's the Deal? My details are below in the description. If you would like to book a call with me, please feel free, and I'll look forward to seeing you again on another episode soon. Thank you.